the PSTD Usapang Kapatidi. Okay? So this is now the evolution of our Usapang training. If you remember, a couple of years ago, parang lumaktaw tayo ng isang taon. Ano? At ito na, we are really expanding the reach of our conversation. Our fellow kapatidis and co-hosts for this afternoon, panelists, are three people. There will be more joining us this afternoon. Let's have them introduce themselves. Let's start with June Roy. June Roy, please introduce yourself.
Magandang gabi po, good evening. June Roy, former president ng PSTD po 2021 and chair of the board ng 2025, and currently I have my own consulting company and appointed myself as a CEO. And just like everyone, we're also into this crisis, and it's a pleasure to talk about this important topic for tonight. Yeah, welcome po.
Okay, thank you, June. Marby, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thanks, Sir Ed. Good evening, kapatidis. I'm Marby, former Board of Trustee and former Chair for Digital Learning for PSTD, and I'm the Managing Consultant at Prevo, a human-centered design and consultancy firm. I know this is a very important topic. Ang hirap nga ng mga tanong ni Sir Ed, so sana masagot natin lahat. Kasi we're all searching for answers, so I think this conversation is very timely. So yeah,
all right. Thank you, Marby. And Kevin, please introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. I'm Kevin Nera, formerly part of the Board of Trustees, and this year part of co-chair of the National Convention, which will be happening this May. I'm also a training consultant and business owner, at ramdam na ramdam ng lahat ng negosyante dito sa kwartong to. Ang hirap ng nangyayari because of the economy and everything. So, I'm happy na nandito po tayong lahat para magtulungan kung ano bang pwede nga natin gawin sa sitwasyon na ito.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. At syempre, hindi ako nagpakilala kanina. Magpapakilala din po ako, Edwin Ebreo, your main host for tonight, ang TD tagapagtanong for tonight. I'm the CEO of ExecuServe Corporation. I was president of PSTD in 2024, and I see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for joining us tonight. I think it's fair to say na wala sa ating eksperto sa sitwasyong kinalalagyan natin ngayon. Oo. Parang ano to, no? Para itong Black Swan event.
Yeah.
Diba? Yung tinatawag. Usually, ang Black Swan event nangyayari decades, maybe even a century, no? In between. Kalalabas lang natin sa COVID, meron na naman tayong isang Black Swan event that we have to deal with. And yung pong ating challenge ngayon is this. In situations like this where a company is bracing for yung forthcoming financial or economic crisis brought about by this war and shortage of fuel, the first thing that they do is they cut on costs, and sometimes across the board cost cutting, at yun yung madalas na nangyayari. At usually pag nag-cost cutting, ano ang unang kinakat? Training cost, di ba? Or talent development cost. Bago po ako magpatuloy, dumating po yung ating kaibigan at co-host
Idol.
panelist sa gabing ito, no, na si Louie Jan Banta. Louie, please introduce yourself.
Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Nandito na naman po ang tropang kapatidi at napapanahong topic ang ating pag-uusapan ngayong gabi. Louie Banta po, LJMB at avid supporter ng PSTD.
Thank you, Louie. So, we invested 1.5 hours for this. So let start the ball rolling with our first question. At itinipe ko rin po sa chat. Baka gusto niyo pong maki-weigh in din. The first question, diretsohin na natin. Huwag na natin kutsarahin. Ano? We are in a crisis mode. So imagine the CEO asking this question. No? We are in a crisis mode. Why should I keep investing in talent development when survival and cash preservation are the priority? Okay? So, who wants to go first and share some thoughts on this?
Ladies first ba? Marby?
I think just for all of us, I'm sure maraming reasons, right? Because we're advocates of talent development. Siguro mag-highlight lang ako ng dalawang critical reasons why, leaders must still consider investing in talent development continuously despite the crisis. Number one, because your leaders are continuously making decisions. And for a fact, they're gonna make decisions right now that they haven't probably dealt with in the past. 'Di ba? Pag sinabihan ka ng iyong team member na, ay, hindi ako makakapasok next week kasi wala akong panggas. 'Di ba? Kasi ang mahal masyado ng gas, hindi ako makakapasok sa trabaho because the commute expenses is just so much. So how do you make decision based on that? Or maybe that's a simple example, pero ang daming decision pa rin na kailangan gawin ng ating mga leaders. So that alone, we need to equip our leaders on how to make fast decisions despite the uncertainties. So that's number one for me. Number two for me is the efficiency of our team members, 'di ba? Kasi lalo na babalik na naman tayo sa hybrid setup. So andyan na naman yung fear na, are my people being productive when they're not working beside me? So mapapansin na naman diyan, people productivity are decreasing, o kaya parang ang bagal ng output ng trabaho, etc., right? But is it really the reason, or is it because they are not skilled enough to make sure that they are delivering their jobs in a very efficient manner? And of course, one way to do that is kailangan tinrain mo sila how to be very efficient in their role. So kung pababayaan natin yung dalawang areas, yun pa lang, number one, leaders not being able to make decisions, consider the risks of that for your teams and your business. Number two, productivity. Pag ang bagal magtrabaho ng mga tao and we're going through a lot, diba? Imagine the opportunity costs that you're gaining or that you are incurring as well. So pag tinigil itong mga interventions to continue to upskill our leaders, continue to upskill our people, we are facing those risks. So we really need to continue. My take is kailangan nating maging creative to redesign how we're doing. That's my take.
Okay. Thank you, Marby. Yeah, well received. Ano? Now, while you were speaking, I was imagining myself. I'm the talent development head or the L&D manager, no? And that question is thrown at me, and I have to justify to the CEO, if I can, to not scratch all the talent development investment. How should I answer that question? Okay. So, anyone else who wants to pick up from Marby? Team? June, you want to answer?
Yeah. My take on that is that capability development doesn't stop with a crisis. In fact, you need specific capabilities to survive and to navigate the crisis. For example, crisis management, that's a capability. Still, a lot of organizations are not equipped in terms of the systems, process, and capabilities on how to manage a crisis. So pag tinigil mo yung capability development, papaano yun? Kailangan yun. We talk about cost efficiency. That is a capability by itself. So hindi pwedeng basta maging cost efficient, yun na, without training the mindset and the capabilities of the people on how to manage the cost, no? Papaano ngayon kung mayroon kang bagong promote or bagong assume or bagong recruit? Kailangan talaga, no? may nag-resign, kailangan mong palitan ng mga leadership positions. So, bagong supervisor, if you don't train that supervisor and it's in a crisis, how he or she will be able to manage and to deal with the team, bring confidence. So it's not gonna work if you totally stop. So the idea it's not to totally stop, but to pivot or rechannel, refocus the kind of capability development. So that's the
Okay.
basic premise there. It doesn't stop. The capability development doesn't stop. We just need to refocus it to those that matters during crisis time.
Okay. Thank you, Jude. So what I'm hearing from you is that uh, you need to look at your siguro yung learning and development war chest, so to speak, and ask how do I better invest this considering the current
Yeah.
situation, no? Kasi in many organizations, especially in organizations with very limited resource allocated for talent development, they recognize talent development as something important but not urgent, di ba? So, kaya nangyayari, yung reallocation is moving from talent development to non-talent development initiatives. And sometimes really just don't touch the money, no? Don't touch the money. Kevin, what can you say about this?
So I'm speaking both as someone talking to clients and as someone who approves the budget internally. Uh, if we don't improve yung capability natin, lalo in a crisis, chances are we will not get through the crisis. That's my mindset. But the anchor for me is the organizational strategy. The
Oo.
crisis is here, but not everyone is actually struggling with the crisis because there are some people, there are some organizations whose strategy actually allows them to thrive in this crisis because it creates a lot of new opportunities for them. And so what I've noticed is that the criteria for selecting talent development initiatives becomes stricter now that we're in a cost management mode. For example, I could argue na we need to run this sales training because in a time of crisis, we need to have the best salespeople.
Oo.
So I could easily communicate, yes, we will spend 100K on this sales training, but in return, ito yung balik.
Oo.
Another example would be creative problem solving. Precisely because we are constrained with resources, our people need to be more creative in solving day-to-day operational problems. In so doing, it will allow us to mitigate costs. So, in effect, I
Oo.
would show it as a balance sheet. We spend this much, we get this much in return, either in top line, revenue, decreased in costs, or preventing us from risks. So,
Okay.
for us in positive workplaces, a lot of requests that we get would be from stress management to building resilience. Because the last thing
Oo.
that companies want is for their existing people to resign. But the only way you can do that is to equip both them, the individual with stress management that they could do personally, but also making certain adjustments to how HR operations happen so that people don't get burnt out. Because we know for a fact now when we're in a crisis, expectations increase. If the capabilities stay the same or decrease, then stress increases. When that happens,
Oo.
you will get higher attrition. So
What
yeah,
I'm
that's for
hearing
me.
from what I'm hearing from you, Kevin, is there are ano no, I don't know how to put it, emerging or more urgent capabilities that may not be required initially or before kasi yung yung talent development business as usual. But because the situation is not business as usual, you need to rethink your talent development investment to capacitate people to deal with the urgent demands of a crisis, no? Louis, care to weigh in on this before I go to the next question?
I will wrap up everything that they said with a quote, no? Or with an anecdote. 1990s pa to. I'm sure that some of you remember this. Zig Ziglar gave this anecdote. One CEO was asked by a CFO, what happens when we continue to train people and they leave? Sabi ni CEO, what happens if we do not train people and they stay? So rephrase that. What happens if we do not train our people during this crisis? When will you train them when it's too late? Yes, in crisis, all capability gaps become very obvious. Kumbaga sa basketball, pag tambak ang kalaban mo, may turnover ka, isa, dalawa, it matters less. But pag malapit ang laban, each possession of the ball is important. So you have to put the skilled players on the court.
Okay, that's a good wrap up of that question, Louis, which gives me the signal to ask the second question, which is, okay, I hear you. I'm the CEO, right? I hear you. You gave such compelling argument for the need for training, but they're good concepts, they're good ideas. But have you seen actual positive effects of learning during a crisis? We were in a crisis a while back, during the COVID pandemic. Is there a business case for learning during a crisis rather than wait after the crisis is over? Who wants to share? Siguro have 2 or 3 of you to answer this question, and then maybe we can also ask our audience in the room to share if they have their own experience of how investment in talent development worked for them during a crisis. No? So yan. So,
Ako siguro, Sir Ed, I'll just share one brief example.
okay.
We did for a client in the healthcare industry. So the program that we designed and delivered for them is a combination of negotiation and communication skills. And what we found out was the officers that have been trained, that are highly skilled in negotiation and have really good communication skills, they're able to negotiate up to 10%. And that 10% equates to millions of pesos. Okay? And those who are not skilled, those who are not trained, could end up not having negotiated amount. Wala, zero. Right? Imagine the cost of, imagine what you could get if you've trained your people. They could get up to 10%. Pero pag hindi sila tinrain, wala kang makukuha. So what if in the crisis, you have not provided communication skills and negotiation training for your officers? How would they be able to negotiate the amounts that you should have gotten as a company? Lalo na ngayon, kasi mas mahirap mag-negotiate right now because everyone's cost-cutting. Their partner facilities are also cutting costs, so mas mahirap mag-negotiate ngayon. So now, again, if nag-cut ka ng cost because of training, because you see, ayoko munang mag-spend ng money on training. Pero imagine the cost that it's causing your business just because you didn't train your people. Right? Yung hundreds of thousands, or maybe lesser, kasi syempre, I'm sure the training providers are also adjusting rates right now. So maybe it's lesser. Pero, isinacrifice mo. And now you're losing millions of money just because you're not able to negotiate. So yan siguro yung gusto kong i-share na people have to see the value of talent development, not just as an expense, but as value adding to the business.
Okay. Thank you, Marby. And I'm sure our panelists here have their own examples, but I'll throw in a follow-up questions, no? Kasi I think yung fear of losing or wasting money on training is quite real, no? So my follow-up question is, how do we guarantee na we get that, yung increase in savings due to negotiation, no? pinag-attend mo ng problem solving and decision making training, and it had a big impact on the person and the company's performance. So what would be the answer to that? How do I make sure that I get the needed return on investment when I invest and not waste my money, especially at this time when money is precious?
Mhm.
Who wants to answer? June, you want to answer that?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what we've learned actually during the pandemic, no? So what we can do is to target the very specific scenarios and problems where we can easily measure the return. So for example, if we are cutting cost, and cost cutting, in my experience, doing this kind of consulting, right? So it requires very specific skill set. For example, zero budgeting, reforecasting your budget during this crisis, identifying opportunities for cost optimization. These are uh, real scenarios that requires very specific skill set. So whatever amount of investment you put into the training, right? You can actually compare that with the amount of savings that you have gained out of that. Now, on the upside, I'm talking about the revenue or the top line. The kind of training that people normally get is more on the business as usual, but this is a crisis mode. So how do you sell from this kind of scenario? And that requires very specific skill set also. So transitioning them to that kind of scenario, building that kind of skills where they are not ready, especially those who are hired after the pandemic, those who enter
Oo.
into the sales force after the pandemic. You can't say they are ready in an emergency or in a crisis mode like this. They don't have an experience base. So you need to train them to go into that transition. So the revenue can be measured. And so therefore you can also measure the returns of whatever amount you put into. And fortunately, the kind of investments that you have to make on this is not really that much. There are a lot of options that you can take because what we are talking about
Oo.
here, it's not only about spending money, but also spending the time uh, and effort and energy into developing the people. So it's about finding those kind of niche competencies that are very specific to this crisis.
Okay. Thank you, June. Louis, you want to say something?
Well, we need to stop talking about courses.
Yeah.
We need to stop talking about programs.
Yeah.
Kasi allergic ang mga tao ngayon dyan. No?
Yes.
So we need to ask, what is the business priority?
Yes.
What is the mandate? What are the struggles of the different departments in an organization? You're still an L&D, talent development person, but you're changing your question, and the answers will definitely get the attention of top management and everybody else. No, kahit na yung frontliner, kuhang-kuha mo doon. Saan ka ba nahihirapan ngayon? Saan ba ang source ng anxiety ngayon? No? Relate ang kahit anong level dyan.
I totally agree with you, Louis, on that. Ano, na at this time, we're not talking about curriculum. We're not talking
Yeah.
about
Mga
the
long-running
usual,
programs.
but rather, what are your struggles now, and what capabilities do you need to develop
Yeah.
fast in order to address that? And I guess the follow-up question there is, how do we deliver on that capability building? Yes, Kevin.
Yeah. Something that we've been doing and we've had success with is actually repositioning ourselves from a training firm to a management consultancy firm. So the way that we do that is we don't really sell capability building. What we really sell is solutions to business problems. So the way that, for example, I would communicate to a business owner is sa needs analysis. It's not even training needs analysis. What's the business need? If they have a strategy, then that should be easier to answer.
Mm.
If there's no strategy, then maybe that's a bigger problem, di ba? Only when the strategy is clear and then the subsequent programs are identified, that's when we'll identify what the capability gaps are. And then for the capability gaps, it's going to be a combination of you have your workshops, yes, but sometimes you would need an external consultant. For example, we have a client right now, their main strategy is brand identification, but currently they don't really have a strong brand team. So what we offered
Mm.
them was a multi-month consulting marketing consultancy program, which combines advisory and capability building. So embedded in
Mm.
the nature of the engagement, yung guarantee of the metrics, because there's a clear baseline, there are milestones, and then there are measurements. Now, kung hindi naman in-depth consultancy, an alternative could be bake it into the performance metrics of their managers. So for example, if we are going to run a leadership program, then it should be an expectation that the leaders participating in the leadership program, we should be able to see results in terms of how their
Oo.
KPIs are moving. Otherwise, so that gives them a motivation to take
Oo.
the program seriously.
Parang ano, no, ibalik mo agad yung ginastos. Di ba?
Mm,
I like what Jojit said here from Intelliger. Sabi niya, to get ROI probably is to transition TD not as a perk but as a cost saving strategy. And I would say that while we're at it, bakit cost saving strategy? Baka pwedeng revenue generating strategy din, di ba? So now it's closer to business outcome, which, if you ask me, is something we should do from the very beginning, di ba? That our talent development investment, while we develop people, they're also able to return it in kind, ano, in terms of increased productivity, reduction in cost, etc. Okay. Um, Sabi ni Mia, the most effective training during a crisis isn't reactive, it's anticipatory. Organizations that had already built psychological safety, communication, resilience frameworks before crisis hit were measurably better at navigating it. I agree, no? So when people are better placed, ika nga, mentally, emotionally, they're able to build the necessary, anong tawag dito, composure to deal with the challenges, and will be able to demonstrate proactiveness. No? So I like what you said there, Mia. Okay, so now let me now go to the third question. Folks, if you have to stop me because there are things in the chat that I have not seen and you want to surface, feel free to do so, no? So, the third question that I have, I think partially nasagot na natin ito eh. If I cannot fund everything, okay, what talent development investment should we protect at all cost at this time? Again, no, i-copy paste ko yan sa ating chat so that people can weigh in as well. Ayan. So, as a CEO, I cannot fund everything. I want to reduce my talent development cost. I want to prioritize. What should I prioritize?
There are two angles to that question, Ed. One, it's uh, those competencies or solutions, as Kevin mentioned, that helps the organizations navigate through the crisis. So we're talking about capabilities towards crisis management, resilience management, bringing confidence to the people, cost efficiency, and so much more, right? So those are the other one. It's finding creative ways on how you develop those capabilities without having to spend so much, because our assumption here is that all of those need some kind of investment in terms of getting people like us, right? Not necessarily so, because there are expertise and experience within the organization that you can tap, and you don't have to spend on putting them in a hotel and spending so much, right? So to me, once the capabilities are identified and these are critical to navigating the crisis, then the next question is how do we deliver these solutions without having to spend? And there are creative ways of doing that.
Medyo nagchachapi ka, Jun.
Yeah, that's my
Di
take.
namin-
Oh, sorry.
So others, you want to weigh in on this? Ano yung what should I prioritize, no? In terms of investment. Yes, Kevin.
So for me, I would say na ultimately nakadepende siya sa strategy. So it will not be blanket. It will depend on your organization strategy. But the way I would approach it is, step one, this is my strategy. Step two, these are my capability needs. Step
Mm.
three, that's when I will borrow the build, buy, borrow, bought framework na usually pang workforce planning. Because for
Mm.
capability development, not everything has to be bought. Not everything has to be done externally. So maybe there are things that we can build internally. For example, a new sales strategy or a new sales script that can be run by people within the organization. So pwedeng build, it could be borrow. For example, if you have a consultant onboarded, you can negotiate with that consultant to incorporate a capability development component as part of their milestones. The third one would be BOT. Use AI. Instead of relying on external training providers, maybe there are GPTs or Claude has a lot of recent developments that could help people with actually building their customized learning programs. So we can utilize a combination of all of these. Kami internally, what we're trying to do is to strengthen our knowledge management system. And this is the intersection of talent development with other organizational systems. Sometimes that the talent development process is actually there. The knowledge, the skills, it's in the company. You just don't know where. So you want to consolidate everything and then refer people to the right person within the organization who can help them. Not everything has to be bought outside.
Okay. So what I'm getting from you right now is ito pinost ni Jun yung hindi niya masyadong nasabi ng malinaw kanina is come up with solutions that navigate the crisis, no? Focus on solutions that don't require external consultants, no? So what I'm hearing from you is that the talent development practitioner in the organization must also do some heavy lifting, no? Of trying to understand how the organization intends to deal with the challenge of today, right? Especially, in a perfect world, all organizations are well prepared and well suited to deal with different kinds of challenges. But that is farther from the truth. Many organizations are caught flat-footed and will have to deal with these problems reactively, no? So this brings us to the court of the talent development practitioner. Si Marby said something here. Marby, care to elaborate on it?
Yes, I just wanted to share na talagang be human-centered as well. Of course, the organizational strategy and also don't forget to really listen to your people. And it's so funny, no? Kasi recently we released a human-centered design toolkit for HR during crisis, and we were so surprised with how many downloads we got how many people have downloaded that material, and it's a very practical material. Nagulat din kami na people are looking for toolkits like this. It's a 7-page document, very practical toolkit, because I think right now nobody has the answers, right? But we have to equip
Not
ourselves.
all the answers.
We don't have all the answers. Correct. And based on conversations we had with clients, with our colleagues, we see that organizations are doing different things, diba? Parang wala nang certain playbook or certain really best practices. It's what works for your business and your people. So siguro for me rin, one of the things that I want to advocate is listen to your people. I know we're in a phase where everything has to move fast, but we have to still be human-centered. Of course, ano rin, no? I'm also promoting design thinking. And that's going to help you. Let people dictate that the business, and then the people dictate what they actually need. So that's
Oo.
going to be your plan.
Thank you. Thank you, Marby. There are also a lot of recommendations in the chat. I hope you're taking note of this. If you are looking for answers to the question that I raised earlier. Before I go to the talent development practitioners, Louis, you want to add anything to the discussion?
Stop BAU training.
Mm.
More on sa stop ako kasi pag crisis, the things that we have been habitually doing, we need to revisit. So stop BAU training and prioritize the competencies that are important for crisis. Sabi nga ni June, to name a few, sa mga individual contributors, commercial awareness. They need to understand how the business makes money and how this supply disruption is affecting the business para hindi nila ma-misinterpret ang mga changes na gimmick lang to ng kumpanya, pinapahirapan kami. Yes, so commercial awareness is important. Then learning agility so that they can embrace change. And there's another set of skills for leaders, no? Sense making, empathic listening, no? At saka leading to change. Yan yung mga importante sa crisis na to, Ed.
Habang nililista ko yung mga lahat ng talent development investments, parang tumataas yung gastos ko. Madami nung kailangan matutunan right away, no? So, which brings me to this next question. Now, I'm putting on the hat of the talent development practitioner who's probably caught, no, in this dilemma. So, here's the question. I'm posting it also in the chat, and the question is, how can talent development practitioners, L&D manager, head of HR, reposition itself as a business enabler and not just a training function during a crisis? Meron bang kailangan baguhin sa mental model ng talent development or L&D practitioner at this time? Because I remember during the first few weeks or months of COVID, medyo headless chickens tayong lahat, ano? Because it's like, what do we do now? No training, no editing. I don't know how to run Zoom meetings, those kind of things. What do I do now? This is a challenging situation, but it's a different kind of challenging situation. Ano? So, any thoughts on what kind of advice we can provide or offer our talent development practitioners? Yes, Kevin.
So I'm sure this is something that Marby is very familiar with kasi tenet siya ng design thinking. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. I would actually
Ano
say
ibig sabihin nun, sir?
if you're a talent developer and you're not sure what your priority training is, then it's a signal that you maybe doing training now is not the solution. Maybe what you need to do is to shadow your operations people, look at look at the challenges they're encountering, and then from there, understand what they need to help them succeed. I think kasi usually what happens, I need to look productive, so I will run a training that no one needs. And then I'll be angry because people are not sending their people.
No
But
one's
then we're actually
ang hirap
being counterproductive.
Oo, tama, no? Yan, meron din tayong mga comments dito. Sabi ni Zeke, prototype, di perfect ang first version ng solution, pero padayon lang. But I also would like to weigh in on that because this is a tricky time. Medyo magastos ang missteps at this time. So we need to be more certain in our steps. No, sabi ni Ruby, be an expert on learning and what makes learning happen and change. Last ba yun, Ruby? Pwede ka bang mag-unmute, ma'am? And pwede mo bang i-elaborate itong shinare mo dito? Wala. Wala, sorry. Babasahin ko na lang ulit. Maybe you can elaborate through chat. Be an expert on
Okay,
learning and what makes... Ayan.
I
Yes,
can
Ruby.
unmute. Yeah, so
Uh,
I'd just like to share that one of the learnings I've had talking to top leaders is, especially in these times of crisis, polycrisis, sila mismo they need help. But they probably may not want to ask for help, or they do not ask for help because they still want to show a strong face, hindi ba? Or it may reflect a weakness on their part. So it creates a divide between leaders and their people. Sabi nila, I wish my team members would be more proactive, would take more accountability and ownership. Tapos itong si members naman, dahil sa bagong dynamics nila, I wish my leader consults me, asks for my opinion, and helps me contribute to our problems today. So I think that is what talent developers should address, the gap, no, between leadership, maybe in terms of their mindset and their philosophies in leading their teams. But today it's really about moving and shifting power from the strong man to teams, and they will find a solution. And how they draw the wisdom that is within. That's why, Kevin, hindi naman kailangan ng consultants all the time, hindi ba? Because the solutions may just be within. In a 1,000 kunyari strong organization, do you think, if you tap into the wisdom of the organization, walang solusyon dyan sa mga problema? An example is itong isang motorcycle company during the pandemic. Of course, they didn't know how to because everybody was just on a lockdown. So what this operations manager did was to gather everybody, including the guards, including yung mga retail nila sa labas, and solicited solutions to their issues, how they can grow. Alam mo, pati yung guards nagbigay ng solusyon. And during that year, they grew by about 150%. So they
di
tap
ba?
into the wisdom lang. So I think that's just my thought around your question. What should
I think what I'm getting from all of you lot is that we need to we need to expand yung choices of, because there are many ways to learn, right? Marami sa atin ay accustomed to the classroom training, right? The 8 hours or the how many hours. But there are many ways to learn. And in fact, having conversations with people, listening is a way to learn. And sometimes you get silly ideas that are actually the things that you need. The very silly ideas that you need are the ones that you can learn from. No? So, yeah. Anong tawag dito? So, again, let me reiterate my question. Yung talent development department or yung talent development head. How do you see the talent development? Not the consultants, not not the subject matter experts that are hired to run training, but rather the in-house, the organic person in charge of talent development. How do they play their role in situations like this? How do they move, and navigate, help the organization navigate and improve the organization's ability to learn, playing their role, no? So any thoughts on this? Like, I'm the talent development head of a company. What do I do?
Yeah, Ed, my take on that, actually, it was already mentioned a while ago, no? So Louis mentioned, don't offer training, don't offer the business as usual. And then Kevin mentioned a keyword, it's solutions. So be a partner of the top management in solving the crisis. So I'll give you a very specific example. How to manage cost. That's a capability. It's not as
Yeah.
if you can easily, draw down as an accountant or accounting grad. I can say it's not easy. It requires capability. So, for example, organizations will have to shift into zero-based budgeting to do this. And zero-based budgeting is not a template; it's a capability. So you need to help organizations or your organization shift to that if that is the focus area. Another focus area might be, I mentioned earlier, it's about how do we make sales in this kind of environment. So that's a problem that requires creative thinking. And creative thinking is a capability. So when you position and pivot your department and as a practitioner, not as a provider of training and talent development programs, but more as someone with a solutions on hand to real problems that are of utmost priority during this crisis, then you have the voice, and people will listen to you because of that.
Okay. Okay. Siguro ano lang eh. The reason why I'm reiterating these questions is I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who is having a challenge on what important first step I should take. And what I'm getting now is that, as a talent development practitioner, you need to maybe set aside your whatever your L&D plan is for the year, and go back to the first step. Have conversations again with your key stakeholders and ask questions, right? In terms of what are the priorities now,
Mm-mm,
what are
mm-mm,
the capability gaps that need to be
mm-mm.
filled, and talk about how those gaps will be filled, um, whether through formal L&D channels or informal learning channels, no? So parang ganun yung ano, no, yung
Yeah,
nakikita ko na
yeah,
na role ng L&D
yeah.
in a situation like this.
In fact, Ed, you mentioned it a while ago during our informal talk. We need to do a different needs analysis.
And if I
Oh,
may add, June and Ed, yung needs analysis natin dati, valid siya for the next 6 months or maybe a year.
Yes.
oh,
Pag crisis, you are working on very short-term or
Correct.
medium-term needs. So to be a business enabler, you have to be with the business. Lumabas ka ng
Yes.
office mo, no? Umattend ka ng mga meetings. Be with the business heads frequently on a weekly, if not
Yeah.
a daily basis. Kasi nag-iiba ang challenge every week. No? Madagdag ko lang, no? I failed to mention this earlier. Isa sa mga business case natin na katropa that happened during the pandemic, life insurance agency, to cite an example, no? Actual example sa life insurance industry. The companies who were able to adapt because they learned how to use technology tools and sell online, they really left the others behind. No? There were other life insurance companies that it took a year or even more for them, for their agency force to adapt to online tools. So that's a very clear revenue impacting case, no? Pag hindi mo tinrain ng tao sa right training. So pakinggan anong sinasabi ng business.
okay. Thank you. Kanina nabanggit ko na this is another seemingly a black swan event. And when you look at black swan event, these are societal phenomenon that happens, big impact, big challenge. And society comes out of it with new knowledge and new ways of doing things. And based on what I'm hearing from you, this is a great opportunity to, I don't know, to shift our thinking about talent development and move outside of the box, so to speak, and try to now consider different approaches, no, that are more attuned to the time and hopefully more effective as well. Because the next question I would like to ask is if you don't mind me moving on to the next question, is this, ano, syempre, we cannot remove the fact that we still want to save money, you know, and that we don't want to spend unnecessarily. And when you talk about training, often you hear consultants fees, meals, venues, no? And among other things, lalo na kung pag mga multi-day training at may balak pa yata mag-out of town, no? Yung mga ganong klaseng bagay. So the question that I would like to ask now is this, ano, what low-cost, high-impact learning strategies, like if we want to train people and still want to train people, and training is still the best. Let's say, for example, for a particular need, the most convenient, most efficient way of doing this is train people, right? Because there are things that you can do without training, di ba? Yung 70, 20, 10, yung 20 and 70 is not training, but they are in fact knowledge that you acquire through knowledge acquisition, which is training, no? So what are the low-cost, high-impact learning strategies that can still work during this disruption? Any recommendations?
Ako, Sir Ed, quickly is digital learning talaga. But some
Sorry,
may
Marby,
also
can you say it again? Say again.
digital learning, Sir Ed.
Digital learning.
Although a lot of people may argue, ang mahal kaya ng digital learning. Although, if you are just investing now, talagang magmamahal because you're going to get the system, you're gonna, ang tawag dyan, you're gonna purchase the tools, you're gonna train your trainers on how to use these digital tools, AI, etc. Kasi pero dapat kasi nung pandemic pa, nagtuloy-tuloy na yung capability building, right? Kaso we went back to the old normal. Pero kung noon ka pa nag-invest, ang mura lang mag-digital learning, right? So I'll give you an example. If, for example, sige hindi ko alam kung mag-release ako ng cost, no? So if a digital learning conversion, for example, would cost hundreds of thousands then naman, no? So syempre it's costly. Pero if you're going to use it at scale, let's say you're training 300,000 people across the Philippines, and this is an actual project that we did with a conglomerate in the Philippines. So, and then they have been using the asset for 4 years already. 3 years already. So, can you imagine that? Parang halos 1 peso lang ang investment with digital learning, or I could be wrong with my math, no? Pero the cost is going to be really less if you will really leverage digital learning and if you want to scale. Diba? Pero like the mindset that I always tell my clients is huwag niyong tignan at face value yung digital learning investment. Look at it as an investment. Look at it as a scale that, you know, bring to your business.
Marby, when we say digital learning, are we talking about LMS, LXPs? Is that what we're talking about?
Correct, Sir Ed. So it's the whole gamut, no, of the capability. So if you say digital learning, kailangan you have the full suite of ecosystem. You have the learning management system. Of course, if you have a learning management system, you need to have a learning administrator. I'm just going to cite the roles, pero syempre hindi naman po necessary na you have to have one role, one person per role, no? You need to have a functional designer. But these are the capabilities that you need to have. E-learning developer. Yeah, so at least yung mga yon. So you need to have those capabilities. Pero pagka na-investan nyo na yan, the cost is going to be less. Lalo na if you have already built the materials. Ang sabi ko nga sa clients ko, your learning management system should work harder than your trainers. Kasi ang nangyayari ngayon, learning management systems are underutilized. Why?
They are.
Trainers are not equipped. to leverage digital learning or digital technology.
Oo.
Basta
Yeah.
nag-host, tapos ang nilagay puro PDF. Right? O kaya 1 hour recording ng speaker, just ko Lord, who's gonna watch that, right?
Oo
So
nga eh.
the conversion of learning to digital, it has to be explicitly designed. It has to be designed deliberately. Hindi siya convert mo lang ng PDF, convert mo ng video, that's it. Right?
I think that's where, the digital learning trauma came from. Remember during the pandemic, people jumped the online learning and the digital learning bandwagon, whether this is self-paced or facilitator-led training. Kaya nung biglang nag-open up after the pandemic, naalala ko yung 2022, revenge training.
I know, right? And then,
Revenge.
honest, parang nagtaka rin ako, oh, I thought we were all going digital. And then suddenly everyone went back to the old way.
Because I think there are a lot of infirmities in the way people implemented digital learning, and I think it's worth our time to talk about how to make all of these things work. Si June's raising his hand. Go ahead, June.
Yeah, your question kasi it's about the low cost, high impact, ano? And Ruby mentioned it actually. It's about sparkling conversation or conversation in general. You don't spend so much in conversation, but it's focusing that conversation on, let's say, creative ways on how to solve a particular problem, conversations that get commitment of people or leaders on certain issues. So for me, that's a low-hanging fruit, right? How you can use and tap into conversations and tap into the collective ideas, insights, or consciousness of people, not only among leaders, but also those at the ground level. And you will be surprised with the creative ideas that can come out with that, no?
Oh, I think we've been talking about that, and we see the value of that. But we're also looking at the entire company, especially
Yeah.
the ones who are. So that's one. Let's just say, okay,
Yes.
that's one. And
Yes.
another is digital learning.
Digital.
Yes, Louis. Louis and then Kevin. Yes, Louis.
Ang tanong ay ano yung low cost na high impact?
Yeah.
So, saan ba nanggagaling yung cost? Please ilista natin. Kasi nga, in good times, off-site, out of town, buffet, ano pa. So, tignan natin line by line yung mga items. You don't have to cut training, but you have to cut those line items, still pursue the right training. Pwedeng instead na off-site, pwedeng on-site, malapit na hotel, simple training venue that can accommodate the participants. Outsource dati na global or regional, baka pwedeng outsource na local. Baka pwedeng in-house capabilities, internal trainers, subject matter experts. Tapos leverage din sa blended learning, and this is where the right design of online materials and the right choice of facilitators come in. Tingnan niyo yung cost, no? Don't have the knee-jerk reaction of cutting training. Tingnan line by line. And last, kung low cost ang tanong, pwede rin natin i-reframe, high ROI. Tignan natin, ano? Let's
High
focus
returns.
on high ROI training that will help the organization become resilient and adaptable.
Okay, well said, Louis. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah. Sa akin naman, maliban din sa ibang recommendations, I think the trainings themselves will be shorter and more targeted. So, for example, do you really need a full Excel training course or do you just need to teach certain functions? Okay. Doon papasok yung micro-learning. Pero that micro-learning can be in the form of videos or, for example, your sales training before was 8 hours because you're covering end-to-end. But your salespeople don't need to do a refresher on everything. They just need a particular skill or behavior within the sales cycle that you'll focus on. So your 8 hours will now be 2 hours. And then just record all of the other content download. When I was in OVP, we didn't have any money. So we even recorded our internal onboarding program. And then the rest, we just focus what are the behaviors that are needed. Because while I agree with what Louis was mentioning, we cut on the cost related to expense items. The time people spend in trainings is also a cost. It's an opportunity cost. So if you can decrease the time there in the classroom, so that they could do more of the work, that will also make it easier to justify the spending.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. I just want to read a few responses here sa chat. No? Sabi ni Donnie. Hi, Donnie. During disruptions, leverage what you already have. Sabi nga, don't build more, use more. No? So peer learning, mentoring, and knowledge sharing tied to current business needs are examples of means of learning. Low cost, high impact learning from RAI when tied to a specific business disruption, not chosen because it's cheap. A client during a service backlog, one organization skipped formal training and ran weekly 30-minute team huddles. Peer problem solving on live cases. Supervisors coach in real time while teams apply fixes immediately within 6 weeks. Turnaround time improved by 20% and errors drop. The principal choose strategies. The principal choose strategies based on urgency, context, and performance gaps. Then design learning that solves the problem as it happens. So I like that. Ano? Sabi ni Ruby, congratulations, Usapan Kapatidi is such a great space. Let's continue to support and do this. Maybe we can consider some breakouts in the next one so we have team conversations. Okay. Siguro pagka ganun, mas mahaba-haba yung time na gugugulin natin. Ayan, marami po tayo ditong mga na sana nababasa natin and we are taking note of. So, I really appreciate what you said here, but I still want to go back to that conversation on online learning. Ito kasi mabilis, di ba? Pwede nating gawin agad yung online learning or even yung digital learning if you want to start moving towards digital learning. That's kasi feeling ko naging failed experiment yung online learning during the COVID because yung parang we went online with an old mindset. Parang yung classroom training mindset nilipat lang natin doon sa online no? So the question now is if the most convenient means of moving from doing away with travels and venues and all the incidental cost of running an in-person training and move it to digital micro learning and online learning. How do we make it cost effective is the question I would like to ask. No? Ano po ba and I would like to throw this question out to the people in the room, no? Kasi baka meron kayong best practice on how to make online learning work. I'll take this opportunity to share what I heard from people. Okay? Meron akong mga kliyente na yung mga online learning, yung mga self-paced learning, they make it required by to be taken by employees and some employees do it as compliance, pinapass forward, di ba? During online learning, hindi naka-on yung camera, doing something else, multitasking, and then hindi mo makitaan ng return on investment dun sa all the technology investment. Plus, pagka multi-location na online learning, sometimes you find your learners are, using their phones, and yung mga interactive mechanisms that you try to put in place, they cannot participate because they're lacking in bandwidth, they don't have the right tools. What are the best practices in effectively implementing digital and online learning as a way to cope in this crisis situation? Anyone who wants to react to that? Maybe
Baka sa
Marby,
audience.
o sa audience, yes. Please share your thoughts first in the chat and then we'll call you. No?
Ako, Ed,
Okay, sige, ikaw Louie, dahil yan ang una mong ginawa di ba? During the
oo,
pandemic.
sa libo-libo ng mga online sessions na pare-pareho nating hindi alam kung paano i-navigate nung around the same time, 6 years ago, di ba? March 16 yung lockdown. Ang isa sa mga
March yun
Oo, March 16 yung unang lockdown Ang una ko namin implement ay house rules. Of course, we outsource, we partner with the client to make sure that we implement, we communicate the expectations, no? Kailangan bukas ang camera, no? At magtatawag kami so that we make sure that it's an inclusive learning. Hindi kayo magtatawag because we want to put you on the spot. We want to hear from everybody. And number 2, we gamified the learning experience. So kapag may points at kapag mayroong kaunting prizes, sometimes it's not the prize, it's the bragging rights, no? It really excites the class. At makikita mo, nag-uunahan pang mag-unmute to share their answers. Sa chat, 1 point. Pag nag-unmute, 3 points. Tapos we flash the scorecard. Naku, malaking bagay to increase engagement and participation.
Okay, thank you, Louie. How about the others? What are your best practices now when it comes to online or digital learning as an option, as an alternative to traditional or conventional learning and development programs? Kayo, Kevin, madalas din ang inyong di ba, public online learning. Maybe you can share some of your best practices.
Yeah. So for us, number one, we always like starting with the why. Why is it important? I think the moment that our first module is able to capture that, people buy in, that they see, okay, ako pala makikinabang. Matututunan ko today. Because when we don't establish that in the first place, whatever pakulo or incentive we provide, it's going to be an uphill battle. And the only way that we could really do that is if we have a good understanding of what are their motivations for joining the program in the first place. So that's the number one. Number two is we try to design our programs both yung chronological aspect niya, not only logically but also emotionally. We try to envision what the map of the day looks like. O, this particular module, nakakunot yung noon ng mga yan kasi maraming brain work. After, medyo masaya. So you also have to map out not just the logic of the brain, but also the logic of the heart when the participants engage in the program. So you don't do lectures the entire day, tapos video naman pagkatapos, di ba? Isang ginawa nun. So you mix and match the methodologies. And favorite part ko is when we give them a case study. And then they say, empleyado ka ba dito sa kumpanya namin? Bakit parang alam na alam mo yung nangyayari dito sa case study na to? And with AI, if you do your needs analysis right, it's so easy to create case studies by feeding it to AI now. Unlike before, you have to be a master student, an MBA student to get a compelling case study.
Now, speaking of AI, we haven't, this is the first time today that the idea of AI surfaced, no? Ano yung nakikita natin na role ng ng AI na in the lives of talent development practitioners, in shaping or maybe enhancing the learning culture in the organization? Ano yung nai-imagine nyo na magiging or maybe some of you are already starting to do, no? Are we using AI to deliberately educate or develop the capability of our employees? See, Dash raised his hand. Hey, Dash, long time no here. You want to unmute yourself and share your thoughts? You're muted. Can somebody
Yes,
please
yes.
unmute? Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
very good evening, everyone. As you have seen that one of the PhDs, I brought some concepts pertaining to AI, that how AI can enhance the capabilities of the sales force specifically. So it's a good point to add here, like when we have complex concepts to be understood, there are tools which I am currently working on, which is WinTech, and simplify this and give you the right answer right in front of the client with consolidating the information through multiple platforms. So it's definitely going to be one of the most creative way of training the frontliners instead of combining them together in one place, spending on the venue, spending on the food, as rightly said by one of our panel members. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Dash. Anyone else who wants to weigh in on the use of AI in developing employees' capacity to perform or to learn? Yes, Kevin.
Yeah. I remember a recent study highlighting from T-shaped na professionals to M-shaped professionals, wherein kailangan may basic knowledge tayo of the industry, may specialization tayo sa field natin. But another pillar would now be AI literacy. So AI and technology literacy. And this was even mentioned during the last Tipanan that digital and AI literacy is a prerequisite nowadays. And then
Mm.
as you are deeper in your technical role, but the higher the levels of technical of AI proficiency. Now, as a talent development practitioner, I think some companies are building their own chatbots that can be used to respond to questions of employees. For example, for internal capability building. Yung iba, gumawa nga sila na parang it's either an internal mentor or coach that they could ask in case they need questions, or they would outsource. For example, in their LXP or LMS, normally they would have their embedded AI capabilities there already. So that's the more advanced. The most basic would be in developing your programs or in building messaging. You can go with prompting to help you to in crafting a more compelling message. And if you're a training designer, it's so easy right now to create content because of
Oh.
tools that would allow you to create videos, slides, and everything. So it's really a matter of how can you spend more time focusing on understanding the business, using the time you spend from the admin design work that before took so long in preparing the slides, the materials, and everything.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. There are a lot of inputs also in the chat. We'll try and read them later. Let's hear from Marby and then from Louis.
Yeah, quick lang sa akin, Sir Ed. Because when we talk I know that right now, the way the talent development practitioners or L&D people are using it are still per phase, right? When we design, when we develop, when we implement, when we evaluate, etc. Pero still the trainer or the L&D person is still the one navigating it. However, we are, for example, in the conversations that we're having now with our clients, the role of talent development and L&D, now that we're working with AI, we're gonna be on the background na lang talaga. Okay? And the way we see it is that there are two critical capabilities for L&D and talent development people. Number one is you need to know how to really design, like really identify ano yung objective ng ginagawa mo, okay? Or whatever you're gonna ask the AI to do. The second one is for you to analyze. So you're just gonna sit on the background, look at what's happening, what the AI data is telling you, and then you're gonna help analyze it. That's the conversations we're having with our other clients as well. So like what Kevin said, medyo advanced na yon, okay? But sana siguro ang recommendation ko for us L&D people is we need to be open. Okay? And let me also share share ko na dito sa chat. These are some samples of AI that are being used by multinational organizations. Trainerless. You're just gonna sit on the background, see what AI is doing. It's doing the report, it's pushing the content, etc. Sitting pretty na lang tayo. Although the question is, will we still have jobs?
I don't think that's sitting pretty, Marby. Kasi you're playing a more strategic role, right?
Joke lang naman.
Looking at whether your strategies work or not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So please check that out because that's gonna be the future of how learning is really happening with the help of AI, right? And
Okay.
kailangan nating i-shift na kasi right now our conversation is nandun pa rin tayo, engaging the learners, pero in the future wala na tayo eh. Wala na tayo sa camera, wala na tayo sa anywhere. It's AI that's doing the job for us. So how do we prepare ourselves for it? Check out
Siguro yung habang may Gen X pa. So,
uh,
pag yung mga Gen Zs na.
good point, Sir Ed. Medyo matagal-tagal pa yan. Medyo matagal-tagal pa. So if you want to prepare, sabi ko nga, it will only replace people who are not upskilling themselves. That's
right.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marby. Louis, yes.
Marami nang nasabi on how we L&D professionals would use AI, but to build a learning culture using AI, participant dapat yung marunong gumamit ng yung learner dapat ang marunong gumamit ng AI tools. In one client happened late last year, lahat sila may access sa sa Copilot. So, sabi namin kung ang manager ay walang daily or frequent check-in or coaching, i-feed niyo yung PDF copy ng manual ninyo sa kayang ating mga exercises. Tapos gawin yung coach, gawin mong assistant team leader or supervisor si AI, di ba? At nung binalikan namin sila after 60 days, they were really amazed with the results na parang co-trainer alam yung tinuro and can provide interim advice in the absence of the training of the manager, no? So natuwa sila, ayun, ginamit. And learning culture is all about the daily habit of practicing learning.
Yep. Thank you, Louis. Yes, June.
Yeah, in the context of the crisis, so the question that is interesting, it's how might we tap the power of AI to help us navigate the crisis, no? So how will the L&D professionals be able to help their organizations use AI to navigate the crisis, no? So for example, when we are thinking in terms of how to bring down the cost, what is that AI tool or AI platform that can help us do that? Can ChatGPT do that, or maybe there's something more, no? AI brings efficiency, and efficiency is what we want during a crisis. So to me, that's something that is powerful, and it's probably the best time to think of AI as our partner during crisis.
So I think yung yung having an AI strategy, whether learning or dealing with challenges, is something that us in talent development needs to think about. Kasi parang nangyayari organic kanya-kanyang in many companies, no? I'm not I don't want to generalize because I do know that some companies have very clear strategy on AI. Pero for many companies, so sige, lahat may Copilot, pero walang malinaw na na programa or expectations on how much they should learn and how much they should use AI, So let me just point to a question shared here sa chat from John. Sabi niya, as L&D officer or as an L&D practitioner in our company, how do I equip our leaders from being reactive into proactive in times of crisis, I suppose is what he's trying to say. Paano nga ba? How do we teach, what can the L&D officer do to equip leaders to be more proactive rather than reactive in a situation like this?
Ed, simula ako.
Sige,
Meron namang proactivity training, whether face-to-face, whether online courses, meron yan. Or pwede rin namang, just since you are an in-house resource, your huddles and meetings with the leaders can be a venue for you to introduce proactive and reactive behaviors, and then do weekly debriefings of what happened during the week, actual cases, and how they were lived. No, yan, kayang-kayang gawin niya ng internal resource.
okay, yes. So I hope that answered your question. Now, I'm actually fresh out of questions, and we are 9 minutes towards the end of our program. Let me now open the floor for questions and insights, from the people in the room. Si Marby, you want to, is that, tapos na to, no? Na-share mo na ba to? Can I share my personal framework for my AI prompts? You wanna share that, Marby?
Ano lang, Sir Ed, it's just my personal framework. Baka gustong gamitin din when you're doing your prompts with any AI tool. I use RAS. Okay, RAS. So the role, ano yung gusto mo? So if if AI is the designer or the developer or the evaluator, the analyst, para alam niya yung role niya. Second is the action, what you want the AI to do. Do you want them to create the learning objectives? Do you want them to create a report, etc.? And then your specific guidelines lang, like ano ba, gusto mo in a 5-page report, acting as whatever. Okay, so yun lang, baka it'll be helpful to use that.
Yep.
Bilis yung
So
conversation.
there are a lot of hacks, that you can use to make it effective. So marami-rami yan, and this is, what this highlights is yung deliberateness of the organization to capitalize or leverage on the available technology to help them with this crisis. Okay. Habang we're waiting for questions or insights, additional insights about the role of talent development in this crisis situation. I also would like to take this opportunity to, if you are not a member, can you give me a thumbs up if you are not a member of PSTD? Thumbs up if you are not an active member of PSTD. Okay. So we have a few. I think some I know are not members, but I would like to take this opportunity to invite you in the community to be part of the conversations. We're going to have a lot of this. And the way to join PSTD is to go to the website and go to the membership page, which Nathan will share in our in our chat, and join us. And this is not the only conversation we have. We have a lot of people in the room right now who are focused on certain aspects of talent development. Ruby is here, who champions mentoring. Marby, who champions digital learning, among others. So please, if you're not an active member, join us, be part of the community, and participate in these conversations. I think we are in a period where the role of HR, the role of L&D, just like what Marby said, is going to change dramatically from being in front of the class to back of the class, so to speak. So maganda na mapag-usapan natin yung mga transition na yon so that we are ready. No, we are not just crisis ready, we are future ready as talent development practitioner. Penny, member, no? Yan, thank you, Penny. Baka kailangan mo na ulit mag-active. Okay, so, ayan. We
National
should also
Convention, Ed.
encourage,
Yan.
ano?
Yung National Convention natin, papromote natin.
Oo. Yeah, si Kevin is the right person to talk about the National Convention. Kevin, ano bang pwede nating i-expect sa National Convention?
Right, so thank you everyone. Kung natuwa po kayo sa usapan natin na 1.5 hours lang ngayong gabi, for sure po marami tayong matututunan sa darating na National Convention. Our 51st National Convention will be on May 25 and 26 at Crown Plaza Galleria. So you see here in front of in the screen the different speakers. So our theme, CNAG, is really focused on nation building. And because of what's happening right now in our country, what we're also hoping to do is to center our conversations on things that can help us, talent development practitioners, address the challenges that we're facing in the short term, while also building a more resilient and adaptive community, organization, and country. So our speakers will talk about both the long-term trends and the state of talent development in the country. One of the things that we're really proud of is we try to anchor all of the different initiatives that we're doing in the nationwide strategies. For example, aligning our competency frameworks with the Philippines Skills Framework, the Philippines Qualifications Framework. So national and industry alignment is one of our promises. The second one is industry representation. Some of the people, some of the speakers that you see here are not just leaders of companies. They are presidents, VPs of all of the leading HR organizations in the country. So by joining the National Convention, you not only get access to PSTD, you get access to leaders of PMAP, ODPN, ICF Philippines, Philippine Business for Education, Management Association of the Philippines, and among other things. And then lastly, of course, we want to make sure that you take home practical tools. So especially yung ating concurrent sessions, they would focus on the themes and trends ranging from sustainability to well-being to AI to digital technology. We even cover programs that go beyond retirement. Okay, kasi we see talent development is no longer about the life cycle of the employee within the organization, but even before, so alignment with academe, and after, what happens to our talents as they exit the organization. So, we'd like to invite you to check out the program. You can go to uh, pstdnatcon.com. And if you have any questions or clarifications, you may reach out to any of the professional team, or you can also reach out to me so that we could help address your questions or clarifications about the National Convention. And we know na medyo, yun nga, mahigpit nga tayo sa budget sa kasalukuyan. So if you need a letter, there's a segment in the website that gives you a template that you can send to your respective HR directors. We're targeting to have 450 leaders in the National Convention, so we hope to see you there.
Tsaka dito yan sa Manila, so hindi tayo lilipad, ano?
Oo, makakatipid ng gas.
Tipid ng airline ticket. Okay. So thank you for that, ano? So we're 1 minute into closing our session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Siguro, quick last message from our panelists. Very quick, Marby. Ano ang may share mo sa kanila about our topic today?
Yeah, I think based on what I learned also from everyone is have the courage to move forward despite the crisis. I think yun yung biggest takeaway ko dito as a talent development practitioner, also as a business owner. Syempre nakakatakot din, but I think having a community like this with PSDD, it's good to have conversations like this. So have the
Right.
courage, have the courage, have the mindset to move forward despite the challenge.
Thank you. Thank you, Marby. Kevin?
Okay, so for me, every crisis presents an opportunity. The organizations who have the better capabilities to take advantage will end up the leaders when the crisis passes. So don't be left behind. Take charge of
Okay.
your industry.
Thank you. Louis?
Bilang talent development professional, go beyond L&D now. Stop just talking about courses, start asking for business pain points and talk about solutions.
Thank you, Louis. And you, June?
Copy paste. Be relevant, and by that I mean pivot your self, your team, your L&D towards what is really needed in this time of crisis.